A fighter jet designed more than 50 years ago just sent a clear warning to both Beijing and Moscow. Not because it's new, not because it's stealthy, but because it did something no one expected. In late 2024, the United States quietly reinforced its air power presence in the Pacific. Multiple F-15EX Eagles were positioned at Kadena Air Base in Japan, one of the most strategically sensitive locations in the region. These weren't museum pieces or stopgap aircraft. They were fully modernized F-15EXs, frontline fighters built for today's wars. Each one can be configured to carry an unprecedented missile load, far exceeding what any other American fighter can bring into a single mission. While China's most advanced stealth aircraft operate with a limited internal weapons bay, and Russia's newest fighters face similar constraints, the F-15EX plays an entirely different game. And here's the part that makes defense planners uneasy. Despite its age, the F-15 design has never been defeated in air-to-air combat. Across decades of real-world operations spanning multiple regions and conflicts, the Eagle's combat record remains flawless. No losses, not one. So the obvious question is this: how does a fighter jet born in the Cold War still command respect and fear from two nuclear-armed powers investing billions into fifth-generation stealth technology? China has the J-20. Russia fields the Su-57. Both aircraft were designed specifically to challenge American air dominance. Yet instead of retiring the Eagle, the Pentagon doubled down, committing billions of dollars to expand F-15EX production, not as a backup option, but as a core combat platform. The reason lies in a capability modern air combat theory underestimated, a capability that flips the stealth-only mindset on its head. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the F-15EX represents one of the most serious threats China and Russia now face in the air. Let us know in the comments, does the F-15 still belong on tomorrow's battlefield? For more than 20 years, China has been building its air defense strategy around a single concept: distance. Military planners call it anti-access area denial. In practical terms, it means layers of long-range surface-to-air missiles, constant fighter patrols, and radar coverage designed to push U.S. aircraft as far away as possible. The idea is simple: if American jets can't get close, they can't influence the fight. The F-15EX disrupts that entire equation. Configured for air dominance, a single F-15EX can carry a heavy load of modern air-to-air missiles, allowing it to engage multiple enemy aircraft in one sortie without immediately needing to return to base. In a sustained fight, that kind of persistence matters. But air-to-air combat is only part of the story. Those same weapon stations can also carry long-range standoff weapons, like the AGM-158 family of missiles. With ranges measured in hundreds of miles, these weapons allow the F-15EX to strike high-value targets while remaining outside the effective reach of most air defense systems. From Beijing's perspective, that's a serious problem. China's J-20 stealth aircraft relies on a limited internal weapons bay to preserve its low observable profile. Once those missiles are expended, the aircraft has to disengage and return to base, assuming it can do so through airspace now controlled by U.S. fighters still carrying substantial firepower. Russia faces a similar dilemma. The Su-57 may be modern on paper, but its internal weapons capacity remains constrained. Against an aircraft like the F-15EX, the exchange ratio simply isn't favorable. In short, the numbers don't work.
The battle manager in the sky. There's another aspect of the F-15EX that rarely makes headlines, but it's one that keeps defense planners in both China and Russia deeply concerned. The F-15EX isn't just a shooter, it's a coordinator. Modern air combat is no longer about individual pilots maneuvering for a clean dogfight. It's about networks, sensors feeding data to shooters, aircraft sharing information in real time, and commanders making decisions at machine speed. The F-15EX was built specifically to operate at the center of that network. At the heart of the aircraft is a powerful mission computer capable of processing enormous amounts of data every second. That processing power isn't there for convenience, It's there to fuse radar inputs, electronic warfare data, off-board sensor feeds, and targeting information into a single, coherent picture of the battlesphere. Here's how that plays out in real operations. An F-35 penetrates deep into contested airspace, using its advanced sensors to detect enemy aircraft and missile systems while remaining difficult to track. But to preserve its stealth advantage, the F-35 carries a limited number of missiles, and that's where the F-15EX comes in. This is where the F-15EX enters the fight. Instead of pushing deep into heavily defended airspace, the F-15EX operates just outside the reach of enemy surface-to-air missiles. From there, its powerful AESA radar is constantly scanning the skies, while its electronic warfare systems listen for radar activity, communications traffic, and missile guidance signals. But its most important role isn't what it sees on its own, it's what it receives. Deep inside contested airspace, an F-35 uses its advanced sensors to quietly detect enemy aircraft. Rather than engaging directly and risking exposure, it passes that targeting data across the network. The F-15EX takes the shot. An advanced air-to-air missile launches from well outside the threat envelope, guided by a combination of off-board sensor data and the F-15EX's own radar. The enemy pilot never gets a warning. No radar lock, no visual cue, just impact. This is known as cooperative engagement, a system where the sensor and the shooter don't have to be the same aircraft. For Chinese planners, it's a nightmare scenario. Before we go any further, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Most viewers watch without ever subscribing, and while it costs you nothing, it makes a real difference in helping us bring more in-depth analysis like this to the channel. Because here's why this approach is so effective. Both China and Russia built their air defense doctrines around tracking individual aircraft. Detect the radar with term, assign a missile, neutralize the target. What they weren't designed to counter is a distributed network where the aircraft firing the weapon might be operating 100 miles away from the aircraft that detected the threat. The F-15EX amplifies this advantage even further through its two-seat configuration. While the pilot focuses on flying and positioning the aircraft, a weapons systems officer manages the larger fight, coordinating with other F-15EXs, stealth aircraft like the F-35, airborne early warning platforms, and even satellite-based intelligence feeds. Together, they're assembling a real-time picture of the battlesphere and deciding where firepower will have the greatest effect. Survivability without stealth. This brings us to the obvious question. The F-15EX isn't stealthy. It shows up on radar. So how does it survive in an era dominated by low observable aircraft? The answer is straightforward. It doesn't rely on hiding. It relies on control. At the core of this is an advanced electronic warfare suite designed to detect, analyze, and respond to threats across the electromagnetic spectrum. The system constantly monitors radar emissions, missile guidance signals, and enemy communications. When a threat begins to form, such as a surface-to-air missile system locking on, the aircraft responds immediately. Radars can be jammed or confused, missile seekers can be deceived, threat locations can be precisely identified, and once that information is collected, it doesn't stay on one aircraft. The moment an F-15EX identifies an enemy radar or missile site, that data is shared across the network. Every friendly platform in the area instantly knows where the threat is, allowing them to avoid it, suppress it, or destroy it entirely. This approach isn't theoretical. Russian-built air defense systems have already faced similar tactics in real-world conditions. In the Middle East, advanced electronic warfare paired with experienced pilots has repeatedly shown that sophisticated surface-to-air missiles can be bypassed without relying on stealth alone. The F-15EX builds on those lessons. With its high-speed performance, extreme operating altitude, and powerful electronic countermeasures, the aircraft can often outpace or outmaneuver threats rather than absorb them. And that leads to another factor in survivability that rarely gets enough attention. Another factor that dramatically changes the equation is scale. The U.S. Air Force plans to operate well over 100 F-15EX aircraft. That number matters, not because of any single jet, but because of what mass looks like in a modern air battle. Picture the situation from the other side. You're a Chinese air defense officer monitoring your sector. Your radar begins to fill with contacts. Somewhere ahead, there are stealth aircraft you can't clearly see. Behind them, multiple non-stealth fighters appear, each carrying a heavy missile load. At the same time, your communications are being disrupted by electronic warfare platforms operating beyond your reach. Now comes the hard part. Which targets do you prioritize? Which contacts are decoys? Which ones are feeding targeting data? And which aircraft are about to launch? There's no clean answer and no margin for delay. That kind of layered pressure is exactly what modern air defense systems struggle to manage, and it's the scenario that defense planners lose sleep over.
An undefeated legacy. There's another advantage the F-15EX brings that can't be quantified on a specification sheet: experience. The F-15 family has been in continuous service since the mid-1970s. Over decades of real combat, Eagles flown by multiple Allied air forces have engaged hostile aircraft more than 100 times without a single confirmed air-to-air loss. That record spans multiple conflicts, regions, and generations of adversaries. And it matters. While China and Russia have invested heavily in advanced airframes, neither has accumulated meaningful air-to-air combat experience against a peer opponent. China's J-20 has yet to be tested in real combat. Russia's Su-57 has seen limited use, largely in environments where it faced little resistance. By contrast, American pilots have been refining air combat tactics for decades, not just in war, but in constant high-intensity training. Exercises like Red Flag, Top Gun, and large-scale multinational drills expose crews to complex, realistic combat scenarios again and again. That experience shows. During a major exercise in the Pacific several years ago, an older F-15 variant achieved repeated simulated kills against a newer opposing aircraft before the engagement could even fully develop. The incident drew attention precisely because it highlighted something uncomfortable. Advanced technology alone doesn't compensate for superior tactics and training. The F-15EX inherits every lesson learned from that history. Every refinement in doctrine, every adjustment in tactics, every hard-earned insight accumulated over 50 years is built into how the aircraft is flown today. And there's a psychological element as well. When pilots know they're facing an aircraft with an undefeated combat record, it carries weight. It influences decisions. It introduces doubt. And in air combat, hesitation is often fatal.
The hypersonic factor. That brings us to the capability that has raised the most concern in Beijing and Moscow. The F-15EX was designed from the outset to carry weapons far larger than those accommodated by stealth fighters. That includes the next generation of hypersonic missiles, weapons measured not just in speed, but in strategic impact. Hypersonic weapons travel at speeds exceeding Mach 5 while maneuvering unpredictably. Even if a launch is detected, reaction time is minimal. Existing air defense systems simply aren't optimized to reliably track and intercept targets moving that fast while changing trajectory. China and Russia understand this threat well. Both have invested heavily in hypersonic technology of their own. What makes the F-15EX different is how those weapons are delivered. Instead of relying on fixed launch sites or predictable platforms, hypersonic missiles carried by an aircraft introduce mobility and uncertainty. The launch point can shift hundreds of miles. The timing is harder to predict. The warning window shrinks dramatically. That combination, speed, reach, and unpredictability, fundamentally complicates any defensive plan. And it's only the beginning. Chinese and Russian hypersonic missiles are primarily ground-launched or ship-launched systems. That creates a critical weakness because fixed or semi-fixed launch platforms can be tracked.
Satellites, signals intelligence, and long-term surveillance allow the United States and its allies to monitor where those launchers are and predict how they might be used.
Your support helps the channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you clear, fact-based content on modern warfare. Drop a comment below and tell us which aircraft or weapon system you want us to cover next. We read every suggestion. As for the record, it still stands untouched. 104 victories, 0 losses. And with the F-15EX now in the fight, that legacy isn't ending anytime soon.